It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon in Brooklyn. Officer Daniel Carter sat in his patrol car, watching raindrops slide down the windshield. The streets buzzed with people rushing past puddles, holding umbrellas that flipped inside out in the wind. He had been on this beat for nearly 15 years. He thought he'd seen it all. But that day, he saw him. A teenage boy in a black hoodie, standing alone near the corner store. Clutching a small backpack, head down, shifting nervously on his feet. Daniel narrowed his eyes. The store had been robbed twice this month. And now a kid was hanging around, looking suspicious. He grabbed his radio. "This is Officer Carter. I'm checking out a possible suspect on Fulton Street, standing by." The dispatcher's voice crackled back. "Copy that, Carter." Daniel stepped out of the car, water splashing around his boots. As he approached, the boy looked up, startled. Daniel noticed his face for the first time. Young. 16, maybe 17. Eyes full of fear. "Hey, kid," Daniel said, his voice firm. "What are you doing here?" The boy clutched his backpack tighter. "Nothing, sir, just waiting for my mom." "Your mom?" Daniel crossed his arms in front of a store that's been robbed twice this month. The boy swallowed hard. I didn't know. I'm just waiting, I swear." Daniel's instinct screamed he's lying. He reached out. "Let me see that bag." The boy hesitated. Daniel stepped closer. "Now." Slowly, the boy unzipped the backpack. Books. A math notebook. A half-eaten sandwich. A crumpled college brochure. Daniel blinked. The boy whispered, almost pleading, "I'm waiting for my mom. She works double shifts. She said she'll pick me up after work." Daniel exhaled. Something inside him shifted. This wasn't a thief. This was a kid. Just trying to get by. "I'm sorry," Daniel said quietly. "I didn't mean to scare you." The boy gave a nervous smile. "It's okay, I get that a lot." Daniel nodded slowly, stepping back. Maybe he'd been wrong. For the first time in a long while, Daniel Carter wondered, how many other kids like him are out there? To be continued. 2 days later, Daniel couldn't get the boy out of his head. Every time he passed Fulton Street, his eyes searched for him. And on Friday evening, there he was. Same hoodie. Same backpack. But this time sitting on the steps of a laundromat, hunched over a notebook, scribbling something. Daniel parked the car and stepped out. The boy noticed him and frenzy. Daniel raised a hand. "Relax, just wanted to talk." The boy nodded cautiously. Daniel walked over, sat down beside him on the cold stone steps. I'm Daniel. The boy hesitated, then said quietly, Jamal. Daniel smiled faintly. You come here every day. Jamal shrugged. Most days, my mom works at the diner down the block. I wait here till she finishes her shift. Daniel nodded slowly. You like school? Jamal gave a soft laugh. I guess. I'm trying to get into college. Daniel glanced at the notebook. What's that? Scholarship essay. Jamal's voice was quiet. For NYU, I want to study engineering. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Engineering. Jamal nodded. Yeah, I want to build things, make something better. Daniel looked at him. This kid had dreams. Big ones. How's your essay coming along? Daniel asked. Jamal gave a weak smile. I don't know. I'm not good with words. I could use some help. Daniel thought for a moment. Then said, What if I helped you? Jamal stared at him. You do that? Daniel nodded. Sure, my wife's a teacher. She'd help too. We could meet here after my shift. Jamal's eyes softened. I'd like that. And just like that, a stranger became a friend. They met again the next evening. Jamal was sitting on the same steps, arms wrapped tightly around his backpack. When Daniel approached, the boy's eyes darted toward him, wary, almost guarded. Daniel noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers clutched the strap like it was a shield. He stopped a few feet away. Mind if I sit? Daniel asked softly. Jamal hesitated, then gave a slight nod. Daniel lowered himself beside him, feeling the coldness of the stone seep through his uniform pants. They sat in silence for a moment. The kind of silence that buzzed with everything unsaid. Daniel cleared his throat. I've been thinking about you, he admitted, voice low, about the other day, how I treated you. Jamal's eyes flicked toward him, wary. Daniel felt a knot tighten in his chest. I judged you before I even knew your name. Jamal looked down at his sneakers. I'm used to it. His voice came out flat, almost numb. Daniel swallowed hard. That's not right. Jamal gave a bitter half smile. It's the way it is. Daniel felt anger flare inside him, not at Jamal. At himself. At a world that made a kid think that was normal. He spoke carefully, choosing every word. I don't want to be part of that way it is. Jamal met his eyes for the first time. And in that look Daniel saw it. A flicker of hope. Buried deep beneath layers of hurt. Daniel took a slow breath. I meant what I said about helping you. Jamal's voice dropped to a whisper. Why, you don't even know me? Daniel's throat tightened. Maybe I want to know you. Jamal blinked, his guard wavering. Daniel forced a soft smile. My wife, her name's Laura. She says people don't need saving. They just need someone who sees them, really sees them. Jamal stared at him, eyes searching, uncertain. Daniel leaned in slightly. I want to see you, Jamal. Jamal's lips parted. Almost a whisper. Okay. Daniel felt a quiet warmth stir in his chest. And for the first time, Jamal smiled. A real smile. The beginning of something neither of them could explain. But both were willing to hold on to. The following week, they met every evening. Always at the same spot. Jamal with his notebook. Daniel with 2 cups of coffee, one black, one with extra sugar. Turns out, Jamal hated bitter things. Daniel took mental notes of details like that. The small things people forget. But that makes someone feel seen. On Thursday night, they Saturday under the flickering street lamp, pages spread between them. Jamal stared at his half-finished essay, chewing on the cap of his pen. I sound stupid, he muttered. Daniel glanced at the words. You sound honest. Jamal snorted. Yeah, honest and dumb. Daniel shook his head. You know what dumb sounds like. Jamal arched an eyebrow. Tell me. Daniel smirked. Me, thinking you were a criminal the first time I met you. Jamal's eyes widened, then he chuckled softly. It was the first time Daniel heard him laugh. And it was real. Warm. You win, Jamal said, shaking his head. Daniel leaned in, tapping the page. Look, you don't need fancy words, just tell them your story, the truth, why you want this. Jamal's smile faded, replaced by something softer. I want to be more than a statistic. Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. Jamal whispered, eyes locked on the paper, I want to prove that I'm not who they think I am. Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. Then write that. Jamal stared at the page and slowly began to write. Word after word, line after line, with Daniel beside him. The walls around Jamal's heart began to fall. And maybe so did Daniel's. It happened on a Friday. The kind of day that feels wrong before anything even happens. Daniel was on patrol when the call came through the radio. Units respond, suspected shoplifting, black male, 16 to 18, wearing a gray hood, Fulton and Maine. Daniel Francie? Gray hood, Fulton and Maine. His heart dropped. Jamal. He slammed the brakes, spinning the wheel toward the address. By the time he arrived, two officers already had a boy pressed against the store wall. Handcuffs snapped around his wrists. And yes, it was Jamal. Daniel jumped out of the car, his voice sharp. "Hey, what's going on?" One officer's, a rookie Daniel barely knew, shrugged. Clerk said he tried to steal a phone charger, caught him walking out. Daniel turned to the store clerk, a middle-aged man pacing angrily. "That true?" The man scowled. "He was loitering. I knew he was trouble. Caught him with the charger in his hand." Daniel's eyes shot to Jamal. "Jamal, talk to me." Jamal stood still, staring at the ground. Silent. Daniel's heart raced. "Jamal, did you take it?" Jamal shook his head, barely a whisper. "No." Daniel felt torn in half. The rookie officer scoffed. "Come on, my kid's lying." Daniel spun on him, voice hard. "You know that for sure?" The rookie stepped back. Daniel turned to the clerk again. "Where's the charger now?" The clerk hesitated, then pointed at the store counter inside. "I took it back. He dropped it when I grabbed him." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Did you see him walk out with it, or did you assume?" The clerk shifted uncomfortably. He looked suspicious. Daniel stared him down, then spoke coldly. "Suspicion isn't theft." He pulled out his badge. "I'm taking over." He turned to the officers. "Uncuff him, now." They hesitated, but obeyed. Jamal rubbed his wrists, eyes burning, but still silent. Daniel walked him away from the crowd, heart pounding. When they reached the corner, Daniel spoke, voice low but firm. "Why didn't you fight back?" Jamal's voice cracked. "Would you have believed me if you didn't know me?" Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. "No." The truth tasted bitter. Jamal nodded, eyes shimmering. "That's why." Daniel reached out, gripping his shoulder. "I believe you now." Jamal met his eyes. And for the first time, Daniel saw the raw wound of a lifetime of being doubted. A shadow that Daniel swore to fight, no matter what. The fallout came faster than Daniel expected. The next morning at the precinct, whispers followed him like shadows. Carter went soft on a suspect. He let some punk walk free. Daniel heard them all and ignored every word. But when Captain Reynolds called him into the office, he knew it wasn't over. The captain leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You interfered with a lawful arrest." Daniel kept his voice calm. "No evidence, no theft. They grabbed him because of how he looked." Reynolds narrowed his eyes. You're a cop, not a social worker. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest. I'm a human being first. The captain shook his head. You keep this up, you'll lose the respect of this department. Daniel met his gaze, steady and cold. Then I'll earn the respect of the people we swore to protect. A tense silence settled between them. Finally, Reynolds sighed. Get out of my office. Daniel turned and walked out without another word. He stepped outside into the morning chill, chest tight but head high. That afternoon, he met Jamal at the usual spot. The boy looked up from his notebook, eyes uncertain. You okay? Jamal asked quietly. Daniel gave a half smile. I got chewed out today. Jamal blinked. Because of me. Daniel shook his head. Because of us. Jamal frowned. I don't want you to get in trouble. Daniel's smile softened. You're worth it. Jamal looked away, swallowing hard. For a long moment, they sat there in silence. Finally, Jamal whispered, No one's ever said that to me. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. Get used to it. Because Daniel wasn't walking away. Not now. Not ever. Jamal stared at the blank page for what felt like hours. His pen hovered, but didn't move. The words lived inside him. But every time he tried to write, they frowned. What if I'm not good enough? What if they read this and laugh? What if I fail, like everybody expects me to? The doubts swarmed his mind like angry voices. He slammed the notebook shut with a frustrated sigh. Daniel, sitting beside him, glanced over. Talk to me, he said softly. Jamal shook his head. I can't do this. Daniel leaned forward, his voice low but firm. Why not? Jamal clenched his fists. Because I'm just some kid from the projects. They don't want me at NYU. They want perfect students, rich kids, not me. Daniel's heart ached at every word. Jamal, look at me. Slowly, the boy raised his eyes. Daniel met his gaze, steady and unwavering. You are not just some kid. Jamal's lips trembled. You don't know what it's like, growing up with people waiting for you to fail. I got teachers who gave up on me, cops who looked at me like I'm trash. Daniel swallowed hard. I know I did. Jamal flinched. Daniel shook his head. And I was wrong. Jamal blinked, surprised. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. You have a voice, and the world needs to hear it. Jamal's eyes glistened. You really believe that? Daniel nodded. With everything I've got. Jamal let out a shaky breath. and opened the notebook again. This time, the words came. They poured from his heart, raw, honest, messy. His pain, his hopes, his truth. And when he finished, Daniel read it in silence. When he finally looked up, his eyes shone with pride. Jamal, this is powerful. Jamal bit his lip, fighting a smile. You really think so? Daniel smiled back. I know so. That night, they mailed the essay together. And for the first time, Jamal believed maybe, just maybe, his future wasn't written yet. The days that followed felt endless. Jamal checked the mailbox every morning, and again every evening. Each time, nothing. Daniel saw him across the street one afternoon, staring at the mailbox like it held his entire future. Maybe it did. Daniel crossed over. Still nothing, he asks gently. Jamal shook his head, forcing a crooked smile. Guess they don't want kids like me. Daniel frowned. Or maybe they're just slow. Jamal gave a quiet laugh, one without humor. I don't know how you do it, how you keep believing in people. Daniel hesitated, then said quietly, because once, someone believed in me. Jamal looked up, surprised. Daniel nodded. I wasn't exactly the golden boy growing up, had a temper, got into fights, nearly got kicked off the force my first year. Jamal blinked. For real? Daniel smirked. For real, Captain Reynolds gave me one last chance, said, Carter, you've got good in you, if you stop trying to prove you're right all the time. Jamal smiled softly. So, you're giving me my one last chance. Daniel shook his head, his voice warm. No, I'm giving you your first real chance. Jamal's eyes softened. And for the first time that week, the weight on his shoulders seemed lighter. They stood in silence for a while. Then Daniel spoke, his voice low. You know, sometimes it's not about the answer you're waiting for. Jamal frowned. Then what's it about? Daniel smiled. It's about who you become while you're waiting. Jamal let out a slow breath and nodded. For once, waiting didn't feel like losing. The morning sun spilled golden light through the cracked blinds. Jamal sat on the edge of his bed, eyes fixed on the small envelope in his trembling hands. The NYU crest stamped boldly on the front. His heart pounded so loud he was sure the whole room could hear. Daniel stood quietly in the doorway, giving him space but ready to catch him if he fell. Jamal took a deep breath, fingers fumbling as he broke the seal. Inside, the letter was crisp and official. He scanned the words. Congratulations. His breath caught. Tears blurred the ink. He read it again. He was accepted. Daniel stepped forward, eyes shining. You did it, Jamal. Jamal swallowed hard, voice cracking. I did, but it still feels like a dream. Daniel smiled, his voice steady. Sometimes, dreams just need a little push. Jamal laughed through his tears, feeling lighter than he had in years. He looked at Daniel, hope burning bright in his eyes. Thank you for believing in me. Daniel clapped him on the back, pride swelling in his chest. Always, kid, always. And in that moment, to lives forever changed, to hearts bound by a promise kept. The day Jamal moved into the NYU dorms, the city felt different, brighter, full of possibilities. Daniel helped him carry the last box up the narrow stairs. When they reached the door, Jamal stopped, key trembling in his hand. Daniel noticed his hesitation. You okay? Jamal took a shaky breath. I've never had a place that was really mine. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder, his voice soft. You earned this? Jamal nodded slowly and unlocked the door. The room was small. Bare walls, a single bed, a desk by the window. But to Jamal, it felt like a palace. He set the box down and turned to Daniel, eyes shining with something Daniel hadn't seen before. Pride. I'm scared, Jamal whispered. Daniel smiled gently. Good means it matters. Jamal chuckled softly, then surprised them both by pulling Daniel into a hug. Tanya. Grateful. Real. Daniel hugged him back, swallowing the lump in his throat. You've got this, Jamal, and I've got your back. Jamal stepped back, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. You promise? Daniel nodded. I promise. As Daniel left the room, he looked back one last time. Jamal stood in the doorway, the city skyline shining behind him. A boy who'd been doubted. A man who refused to give up. To strangers who became family. And as Daniel walked away, he knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.